we'll move into the demo of the new functionality with a CR and a CN. So, I'm a pressure design engineer, and I'm going to add a new red housing option for the 3051 HT. I'm going to demonstrate the new functionality for the markups, CN release and implement workflow, and then everything else. And Becky Schwazdell, our pressure change analyst, will be my change analyst. John will be my PCS model owner of the 3051 HT, and then Chad Blumeyer is my manufacturing engineer. So I'm going to come into Teamcenter, and I've got my CR created and in workflow for a 3051 HT red housing option. And I have my task here in my work list to elaborate the proposed change. So the first step is to evaluate and develop a design solution. I've done that by creating my markups for the next revision. My next step is to populate the impacted items folder. So I will copy the latest revision, paste it into the impacted items folder. And that step is complete. And then I will, there's no PRs, so I don't need to address any deferred PRs. In the next step, I'm going to attach the markups. So the way that I'll do this is with the new drag and drop functionality. So I'm going to take my markups on my local file, drag it onto the data set, and drop it. And when I do that, I'm going to get a pop-up that gives me options for the object type. And then I'm going to set those fields. So here I have this, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to set the data set type markup, and then I'm going to set the reference markup. Okay? Now that's being created, and this is going to add a markup object underneath the data set. Okay. All right, next step is to propose a change track for the change analyst to review. So I will open my ECR, check it out. And I want this to be a full track change. I want PCS to review it before we come into the disposition. Give it a second to check out. All right, I'll do a refresh on my summary tab to bring this up. So you can see on the ECR, there's the new attribute, the target completion date. And I have the option to be able to set this when I create the ECR and now before I route it to the change analyst. So I need this 3051 HT red housing to go through, to be approved next week. And I want it to be implemented in 2 weeks. So I'm going to set this target completion date for 1 week out. Okay, I also have my full track change track. So I'm going to check this in, and this ECR will be ready to go. Alright, I go into my work list, I perform the task, and acknowledge it's complete, sign off, and it will come to my change analyst to assign the impact analysis and CRV. Okay, so from a high level, the CR process has 2 changes. First is that the red line markups are attached to the current revision of the PCS documents instead of a new or next revision, and they're attached with the markup object. Second one is that a change pending flag is added to the items while the item's in the CR. In the first step 100, as you saw, my step instructions are the same, and what's new is that I attach the red line markups to the current revision instead of the next revision, and then I have the option to set a target completion date for the CRV review. After that, the change is routed to my change analyst, who assigns the participants for the change review board and the impact analysis, and there is no change to this task. The change proposal will come to anyone assigned to the impact analysis if the full track change was selected, and these tasks are done the same way. There's no change here. And then after that, the change analyst would summarize the impact analysis from everybody involved and then give that summary to the SME. There's no change here. What's new is that there's a new step for the domain SME to update the proposed change in 165. So if somebody in my impact analysis says, hey, there's this typo, or I need this implemented in this manufacturing org, or there's something else wrong here, the SME can update that change now instead of having to bring it back through rework for any major changes and bring it back through the impact analysis stage. So the markups are unlocked during this time. The SME can update the markups, update the change proposal, and then advance it on to the change review board. Change review board reviews the change proposal, reviews the markups, reviews the CR, and they communicate their agreement or disagreement with the new functionality to communicate this. If a disagreement is chosen, this doesn't veto CR. This just communicates to the CRV chair their opinion, and the CRV chair is responsible for dispositioning the CR. They have the options to approve CR, reject the CR, or send the CR through rework. There's no change to this task, the current process, and once the change is approved, it goes back to the SME to create and route the CN. This task is essentially the same. What's new is that when the CN is derived, the implement to Oracle org attribute will be on the CN, and it will need to be set to NA. So once that's finished, my CN is complete. And or my CR is complete, and the task would move to the CN phase. So I'm going to go back into Teamcenter and then check on where my ECR is at. And to do that, I find my ECR and I right-click it, hover over this Send To option, and then bring it into the workflow viewer. Okay, so my change has been locked with the change pending status and given to the change analyst. She assign the participants, and then now the step is in the impact analysis phase. So I'm going to pass the ball over to my PCS member, John Molnar.
Okay, so I just received this email. I have a task to perform. So I go into my Teamcenter account, and in my work list, under my task to perform, I can find the task that was assigned to me here. And here I give a nice description of what do I need to do. So I need to perform my impact analysis for my functional area and add my comments to summarize that. So I can go in and drill down into this change request and find out what it's all about. View the information here on priority, where what does it impact? Do they have any specific dates yet? And I can go in and I can view the item. I can look at the data set for that item, and I can drill down and see the markup for that item. Go and see how is this going to impact me. Once I'm ready to provide my impact analysis, I'll go back up to the change object, or the change item, and click on my perform action. So again, here it gives me a quick briefing of what do I need to do. I'm going to click on, so as of right now I haven't done anything, so I'm going to click on the no decision here. I'll open up a dialog box. I'm going to enter in my comment here. I noticed when I opened up that red line that the drawing number was incorrect. So just make a quick note here that the drawing number should be -6835. That was a typo. I'll acknowledge that I did this. Click OK. You can see that it's thinking. When I close out on this, you can see that my task is gone. My task is gone. I moved on to the next person.
And that's the change analyst, so I'm going to hand it over to Becky Schwallenstall for the summary of the impact analysis. Becky, are you on mute?
I received the ECR in my task. I would go in and look at everyone's comments. I may note that on Monday when you come in, you may see some items that are in red, and that's okay. That'll be your older items from the transition to the new system. And then all new ones are gonna start with 2 million. So that would be a way to identify the new ones after we switch over on Monday. So after I use my procedures to look everything over, I'm gonna consolidate what I have and I will send it back to the board. So I'm going to assign the board members. I've assigned Chad and John. So I'm just going to note, Don said that there's a typo. I would look into all my boxes, or you can use process history to get all the comments. Also, when you are in these boxes, if you want to see more of the comments, you can always hit this all comments. And then you will see all the comments in case they run off the box there. You can always open it up, and if there were more, they would all be in this box here. Okay? Before I switch back to read here, I would just like to note that if you notice on my work list, I have several other of my counterparts, and that means that I'm a surrogate for them. So I really advise that you set up a surrogate for you so that when you are out or you have an emergency, somebody else can pick up your task and work on them.
Okay, thanks, Becky. So I'm going to check on my change in the workflow viewer again and refresh it. And I see that it is now with me to update the proposed change. So I'm going to look back at the change analyst step and review her summary of the analysis.
Can you share, Reed?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Alright, so I see that the impact analysis has been consolidated and John Molnar has reported the drawing number, actually 6835. So I'm going to come into my Teamcenter and I have this 165 step now, my task to perform, and I'm going to drill down and find my markup object. So this change pending flag is removed in this 165 step, so I can now update my markups and I'm gonna change the drawing number out of the correct 6835. Alright, and then my markups, and I'm gonna find this drawing number. I added that to the housing covers tab, so I come over here. And, yep, I've got 6835. So I'm gonna make that, I'm sorry, 0635, I'm gonna make that 0685, fix that up, save it, and fix this change. So once I save it and X out, the markups are updated, check back in, and this is ready to go. So I'm going to perform my task. Acknowledge that it's complete, and then the task will be with my change review board. So I'm going to hand it over to my manufacturing engineer, Chad, to review that.
All right, so this is Chad, and I'm been named as a change review board member on this task today. So the CR workflow is currently at the change review board, looking for approval from myself and John Molnar. So I have received a task to perform in my work list for the ECR 2,070,000. So as a change review board member, I want to look over the change review description, the subfolder contents of the change request, want to evaluate some of the impact analysis, change analyst comments that have been made so far, and then review those proposed changes and sign off as agree or disagree with the proposed change. So one of the primary things would be to look at the impacted items, the current revision, and I'll find the markup proposal object down here, and when I open that item, I look over the marked up Excel sheet, and when I was looking at the description of adding the new cover, I noticed that our CP bomb structure tab that Reed forgot to add that new cover, red cover part number on here. So my my disposition for this review of this, I'm not in full agreement. I'd like to see some corrections made. So I'm going to make my comments on what I'm disagreeing with. So I've chosen the disagree option and made my comments, click OK to sign off on my change review board step. And we can see a feature of Teamcenter that the agree decisions are in green and the disagree decisions will be shown in red on the sign-off comments. And in the workflow viewer, this change review board step will actually turn to red when there is a disagreement decision in there as well. But it does continue on in the workflow and goes to the change review board chairperson to make the ultimate choice here to ask for some rework, send it through the rework path, approve or reject. So I'm done with my change review board step, and it goes back to Reed as the subject matter expert.
All right, thanks, Chad. So I now have a task to disposition the CR, and I look at my 170 task, and I see Chad's comments to update the CP bombs tab, and that's a fairly minor change, and nothing that's going to stop this change proposal from moving forward. So I'm going to update that when I change my red lines to the final document and commit that in the 200 step. So right now, I'm going to give this a conditional approval and make a note to myself to update that when I make the CN and close out the CR. So the task comes back to me now to create and derive a CN and then start the workflow of CN. So I'm going to do that by finding my ECR and then right-clicking and deriving the change. So the same way today, all the attributes are going to be carried over from the CR to the CN. You won't see the product grouping base model populated in this screen, but these are added in when the CN is submitted to workflow. And I have one new additional task to set the implement to Oracle org attribute. So I'm going to set that to NA. And then I also have the option to set my target completion date here. And I want this change implemented in 2 weeks total. It's like the CR went pretty fast. So I'm going to set that up 2 weeks, 28th, and then make the CN. So I see my implemented by folder that the ECN has been created. So now I'm going to close out my ECR and then start the workflow for the CN release workflow. To make this easier, I'm going to copy my ECN into my home folder. And then to start the CN release workflow, I'm going to start a new workflow process, summary tab. And then I have two options, the CN release workflow and the CN implementation workflow. I'm going to set the CN release workflow, press OK, and this is going to start that up. So in the CN release workflow, a release pending flag will be added to the items while they're processed here before the items are released. And then in my 200 step, my first step, I have some new instructions. First, revise the impacted items, and then place the rev to be released in the solution items folder. There's instructions here for parts and bill of materials and PCS documents. My PCS documents, I'm going to convert the markups to the finalized data set, and then I would assign a designer or drafter if needed, which I won't do for a change now, and then acknowledge the task. So what's new in this step is that the SME would create the new revision here instead of doing the CR, and they would attach the updated document as a data set. And then they also have the option to set a target completion date of the implementation here. There's a new step 201 to perform the CAD model and drawing changes. So for a part and bill of material change, this would be the step where the drafter would update the drawings, update the CAD model to do the related parts. And this is not used for PCS document changes, so this is skipped over as long as the designer drafter is not assigned. Then my change comes to a new step, the 202 step, where the change analyst is going to review the PCS document updates from the markups in the finalized version. And then if there's any changes that they see or anything wrong, they can send it back to the 200 step, do that as many times as needed until the change is ready to be released and approved, and then sign off this task for release. There's a couple more steps in the workflow to push items to Oracle, which won't be used for PCS document changes because the implement to Oracle org attribute is set to NA. So my item revisions will be released after the CA signs off, and then my items will receive a checkered flag and be finalized. So now my item is in workflow and I have my 200 step. So the first thing I'm going to do is revise my impacted items and then place that rev into the solution items folder. So I'm going to find my document and create a new revision here. And then I'm going to copy this new revision and I'm going to paste it into the impacted items folder of the ECN. I'm sorry, in the solution items folder. ECN, the impacted items, carries the previous revision. Alright, my next step is to convert the markups to the finalized data set. So I'm going to first do that by finding my markups, and I'm going to convert these to black lines to a finalized data set. And then I'm going to replace this data set that's underneath the new revision with those updated black lines, final version. So I open up my markups, Alright, and here I'm going to omit these red lines, make them black lines. And then I remember that my manufacturing engineer said that a new item needs to be added on the CP bounds tab. I'm going to make that change now. Okay, so this is ready. So now I'm going to save this as the final data set, and I'm going to put that on my desktop as a local file. So this is now the 3051 HT parts expansion. And then I have a data set that was carried over from my previous revision onto the new revision when I created the new revision. So I'm going to first cut out that data set, and then I'm going to replace that with the new updated black lines. So I drag this onto the new revision, and I don't need to change anything here. This has the correct data set type and everything. And then now I have my updated version. So this CN is ready to go. I don't need to sign a designer drafter. So I'm going to sign off this and then give it to my change analyst to review the changes. One other thing to note is that there used to be comments that were required during this 200 step, but since nothing needs to be added in there, we took that out. So nothing's needed anymore. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Becky Schwazdahl for the 202 step.
Okay, so I received the ECN. And I, again, will look over all the comments.
Can you share your screen, Becky?
Oh, I'm sorry. So I received the ECN. And again, I would look through all the comments again. I see that he has a solution item. And where, again, do I look at the red lines? I look for the red lines under the impacted folder. That's where our markups are. Okay, so we added the part there. Whoops, don't want to do that. So if I were to see anything that didn't match up, I have the opportunity now to reject this back to SME, and he could make any, fixes that needed to be fixed. So that's new from previously. And he wants it on the 28th. And this information over here, I don't need to see this, so this is more for the future use for bonds and parts. So I just collapse it here. And now I can get to my assigned participants. Before I do that, I'm okay with this now, so I'm going to, send it over. I'm going to send it to the CN implementation workflow.
I think the ECN task will need to be signed off on the release workflow before we can do the implementation workflow. While it's thinking about that, these numbers correlate to procedures, work instructions that will be out on the quality site. And if you notice, I just got an email. This is a change that instead of getting it into my work list, I'm going to get an email that's going to tell me that I need to status item and send a notification. So I can either take that email, or I need to find and look up the ECN number. Copy it here. Now you see that the flag has changed. And the item is status. Now I'm going to send it to the implementation workflow. And now we see that it ended up in my workflow. Okay, so now I'll determine if it needs downstream implementation task. And if I want to put a lead implementer on, in most cases we probably will be using a lead implementer
and for configurator documents, that would be the PCS model owner. I'm going to assign these participants. So as you notice, when I bring up Chad, I see that he has different hats that he wears, and I'm going to pick the one that this particular task is for. And we're going to notify Chad. So John is going to be my PCS person in this training document, and he's going to have a downstream task, and that's for him to stage and set all the implementation tasks in the system with a future date. And the lead implementer part is when he will actually release it, when everybody's ready.
Okay, I just got an email about this task to perform, stage my implementation actions. So here's John Molnar playing the role of PCS. I go into my Teamcenter and my work list again. My task to perform is not there. So I have this open, so I can either hit F5 to refresh that, or go up here to view refresh. There we go, there's that action that I had to do, stage my implementation action. So, me being the PCS person, I'm going to go in here and again, make sure everything looks good. Okay, so target completion date, that's when they want all this done. Am I going to be able to get that done in time before then? I think so. What am I implementing here? I need to go and update the rules for this 3051HT. So I'd open up the spreadsheet here and see what the rules are that design has set, and go and do all my offline tests outside the Teamcenter. So I'd go and set up those rules in the OCD environment. So I've got all that stuff and done all that stuff outside the system. And I'm going to perform my actions, saying that I've done this, and I can see here that Chad, playing the role of the manufacturing engineer, has manufacturing procedures have been, I can't quite see it all, so I can click on all comments here. See if he's added some more to that, because I'm curious. All manufacturing procedures have been updated, he's ready to go. Okay, so manufacturing is ready, that's good. I'm going to say that the OCD rules are ready. So as Reed had alluded to when we talked about, what's changed, this is that two-stage piece. This is, the first piece being, yep, we're ready. So I've said that I'm ready. Chad said that he's ready. So now, time will go on. People outside the system, perhaps supply chain or whatnot, or, things are happening out there, and everybody's ready. And so the design engineer calls me up and says, okay, we're ready to implement this, make your rules, put your rules in place. So since I'm also the lead implementer here, monitoring, I'm gonna, again, here's my task that I need to do, monitor the business and the status of the project, see when are we ready to go, review comments and staging actions, and when time is right, take the necessary steps to implement. You want me to show this? Okay. So it was pointed out to me, those of you that know I am not an actual PCS person, playing the role of a PCS person. Apparently, you PCS folks don't just look at the solution item, you also look at the red line for that. So just to clarify, where am I going to find that red line? I can find that red line in what was being implemented. So here's what is implemented. There's no red line attached to this. I need to go back to the previous revision to see what that red line was. I can go into the CR here. I always go the long way. Let me go the short way. I can go into the impacted items and see, okay, here we have the older revision, AAL. We're implementing AAM. And here's the data set for that, and I can, again, review the markups. To clarify where you can find that information. But now the time is right, we're ready to go. Or sorry, not ready to go, we were ready, now it's time to go. So we're gonna put these rules in place. And, we had said that this was gonna happen on the 28th. Well, some people pulled some strings and wanted to get this done before the holiday season. So we pulled this in. So I'm gonna say that the changes are implemented. And we pulled in date to 12/14. Oh, Europe here, so 14/12.
14 December?
Yeah, right? That's how you guys would say it over there? Maybe it just be super clear here. December 14th. Okay. Hold it into December 14th. Acknowledge my task. And see that, yep, gone now.
All right. Thanks, John. I'm going to bring it back to Becky then to verify that the implementation is complete and close the ECN.
Okay. So the task has arrived to me. I can see in 2A it says verify the implementation. So I would go through and use on my checklist just to check everything out, make sure everything was done that was supposed to be done. And then once I've done that, I can sign this off, and we will send it. I have added these people prior, but I can add extras if I need to now. People that will want to be notified. So we had Chad and Reed in here, but I think we're going to add John. Like, oh, I think John needs to know about that too. John here. And anybody else that would need to be notified. just to mention, this is not a task, this is an email that will go out to these individuals. But the e-scan is now completed and closed. And I believe is the 14th is when John implemented that. And now they should be getting an email. And you'll see that it is now matured and closed.
Okay, thanks, Becky. All right. So to review the implement workflow, in step 260, the change analyst assigns the implementers, and they choose whether or not a lead implementer is assigned. What's new here is that the CA would initiate the implementation workflow, and they would choose whether or not it's a one- or two-step workflow, assigning the lead implementer. The 270 task that's in the current process to do the downstream implementation actions is now split into 271 and 272. If it's a one-step workflow, 271 will be performed and 272 will be skipped. And if it's two-step, then both of them will be performed. In 271, if it's a two-step workflow, everybody would stage their implementation actions, and then the lead implementer would sign off on the changes, put the implementation date in, and make the changes live in the system in 272. After that, the change analyst verifies the implementation, and there is no change to the process in this step. So that wraps it up for our demo. So to review, we have 3 new configurator document types that are in scope: the routings worksheet, the build location rankings, and the tag requirements. CR process has minimal changes, the most significant being the updated red line markup functionality, and 2 other changes to improve the method of communicating this agreement with the change proposal, and a new step to update the change proposal after the impact analysis before the CRB review. The CN process is split into 2 workflows: the release and implementation tracking workflow. The implementation process includes a new role defined as the lead implementer, and the change analyst is step 202 to review changes from the red lines to black lines. Okay, so most of you rely on the EC work instructions to complete tasks. These have been updated by John and are found on and will be found on the engineering change page of the quality document library. And to find the quality document library, you can go to Rosewire, and there's a fast find link to the UDL from here. These will be posted at Go Live on December 19th. We'll also have a link from the Teamcenter portal where the work instructions are stored now to this new site on the QDL. This training material will be available on the Teamcenter training presentations of the Teamcenter portal, where our training material from previous releases are stored, and the recordings of today's slides and demo will also be available at Go Live. And you can find the Teamcenter portal from Rosewire by going to the Engineering Tech tab, Engineering Systems, and then navigating to the Teamcenter portal. So this portal is a great resource as a first place to go when you need help. It has our training material, links to the work instructions, the Teamcenter Users Guide, meeting slide from our Teamcenter Users Group, and FAQs. We also have a list of local Teamcenter super users that are available to ask and address concerns. And for any other general questions and concerns, you can contact John Molnar, the EC process owner, Chad Blumeyer, myself, Susanna Skripnik. And for any tool issues, you can contact our PLM administrator, Scott Sigiersma, Greg Klimick, and Shara Sikora, our PLM business analyst. Okay. What questions are there? All right.
Does everybody feel ready for next Monday's launch of this updated Release 2 CR and CN functionality? I think our core team here is confident in the testing that we've done, and we've made plans. Reed's got additional training sessions next week. If you know anybody who wasn't able to join us today, there's still opportunity to sign up for that. And watch your email communications from the Teamcenter system announcements for the cutover and launch.
All right, thanks for your participation today. And thanks, John and Chad and Becky, for your help with the demonstration. We'll wrap things up, and go live again will be next Monday, and these resources will be posted to the Teamcenter portal at that time. Thank you.